Imagine this. You've just married the love of your life, moved into your cozy little apartment, and suddenly your mother-in-law wants to move in. For 2 whole months, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, no escape. What would you do? Stay tuned, because this story might make you rethink family duty forever. So here's the thing. It sounds simple at first. Your mother-in-law needs a place to stay because she just lost her husband. She's grieving. The family wants to be there for her. It makes sense, right? But let's pause for a moment. Imagine you're the newlywed wife in this situation. You work full-time from home in a tiny 1 bedroom apartment. Your husband leaves for the office 3 days a week. You've got a cat that thinks the entire apartment belongs to her. And most importantly, there's only 1 bathroom. Already the walls feel like they're closing in. When this listener told her husband she needed space after the wedding, she wasn't asking for much. Just 6 months, half a year, to adjust to marriage, to life together as a couple, to building a routine without anyone else around. And he agreed. He actually agreed. They both said yes to that boundary. But here they are, only a few months into marriage, and suddenly that promise is being swept aside. You see, her mother-in-law wants to come stay for 2 full months, not a weekend, not a short holiday, 60 days of sharing this tiny space. Every meal, every conversation, every moment, in a home that barely fits 2 people and a cat. Can you picture it? The listener tried to be reasonable. She offered 3 weeks, a long visit, but manageable. She even suggested paying to help her mother-in-law stay in an Airbnb nearby, just to give everyone some breathing room. But her husband said no. His sister said no. The family thinks it's unreasonable. They see her hesitation as selfishness or cruelty. But think about this. Is it selfish to want to breathe in your own home? To walk from the bathroom to the bedroom without worrying about your mother-in-law standing in the kitchen? To have quiet during a work call? Or simply enjoy an hour of silence without company? This isn't just about space. It's about peace, privacy, boundaries, the simple freedom to live daily life without tiptoeing around a grieving guest for 2 long months. And let's not forget, this apartment is tiny. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, no guest room, no home office. When you work from home, your house is your office, your sanctuary, your whole world. Add a dependent mother-in-law who's used to being cared for by others, and the stress grows bigger than the apartment itself. Now, imagine sitting down to dinner, but feeling like every bite is watched, every chore expected, every moment shared. The listener doesn't hate her mother-in-law. In fact, she understands her grief, but she also remembers how, the day after the wedding, this same mother-in-law made comments about her weight and expects her to handle housework while the husband rests. These things don't disappear in 2 months. They fill the room. They shrink the space even more. So the question remains, quote, is it really selfish to want boundaries, or is it survival? But this story isn't just about space and walls. It's about something deeper, broken boundaries and silent promises that no one wants to admit were made. Before this couple even said "I do," they had this very conversation, clear, honest, important. She told him plainly, "I am not comfortable living long-term with your family. I need our home to stay ours. No drama, no anger, just a simple truth spoken in advance so no one would be surprised later." And he agreed. He said he understood, he promised. But now, months later, when grief and family duty knock at the door, that promise is fading fast. It's as if the agreement never mattered, like her needs were only valid before real life and real family came crashing in. And that's the real weight here, isn't it? Not the extra body in the apartment, not the small bathroom or the crowded kitchen, but the quiet breaking of trust. How would you feel if someone you love, someone you just built a life with, forgot the very first boundary you set together? Would you feel safe, heard, respected? Because that's what marriage is built on, trust in the little things. When she said, quote, "Give me 6 months of peace before we let family stay," end quote, it wasn't selfishness. It was a simple request to protect the fragile new roots of their marriage, to build habits, laughter, comfort, without outside weight pressing down too soon. And now that boundary is being erased with a single word: duty, family duty, responsibility, obligation. But why is that duty heavier on her shoulders than his? Why is she the one being asked to bend, to break, to quietly accept? She even offered solutions. She wasn't cold or unkind. 3 weeks, a generous stay. Or Airbnb, where the mother-in-law could be close but not overwhelming. She was willing to help cover the cost. But every offer was brushed away like it didn't matter. Why? Because when people talk about family duty, they often mean a woman's duty: to host, to serve, to keep the peace, even when it hurts. And let's not forget, the mother-in-law isn't easy company. This is the same woman who, the day after the wedding, commented on her daughter-in-law's weight, the same woman who expects her to do the housework, while her son, her husband, sits by. Is that the kind of guest you want in your small apartment for 2 whole months? But when the listener voices her discomfort, she's told she's overreacting, dramatic, selfish. Let's stop and really ask, is she? Or is she simply asking for the one thing every newlywed deserves? A little peace, a little space, a chance to breathe before the world floods in. Because here's the truth: when boundaries are broken once, they break easier the second time, and the third, and by the fourth, you forget you ever had them at all. That's what she's fighting for. Not against her mother-in-law, not against grief, but against the quiet erasing of her voice in her own home. But here's the hardest part. The part no one talks about. Saying no to family, especially in moments of grief, is almost impossible. For this listener, it isn't just about boundaries. It's about guilt, about fear, about being labeled the bad wife or the selfish daughter-in-law if she dares to speak her truth. After all, how can you turn away a grieving mother who just lost her husband? How do you explain to your husband, who's also hurting, that your peace of mind matters too? Because in moments like these, women, especially wives, are quietly expected to put their own needs last, to make space, make room, make sacrifices, even when it costs them sleep, work, mental health, happiness. That's why this listener feels trapped, like she only has 3 terrible choices: say yes and live under constant stress for 2 long months, move to a bigger, more expensive apartment they can't afford, leave, walk away from her home and marriage for some breathing room. None of these are real choices. They're survival instincts dressed up as options. And the saddest part, her husband doesn't see it. He tells her she's catastrophizing, making it bigger than it is, that it's just 2 months. But that's easy for him to say. He leaves for the office 3 days a week. He gets space. She doesn't. And what about work? She works from home, every day. Zoom calls, deadlines, focus, in a space so small that a single extra person turns the entire apartment into chaos. Where does she go when she needs quiet, privacy, just 5 minutes to breathe? No one has answered that question. Then there's the emotional weight, the quiet voice in her head whispering, if you say no, you're cruel. If you set boundaries, you're cold. If you protect your space, you'll be the bad guy forever. That voice is heavy. It comes from family expectations, from cultural pressure, from years of hearing that a good wife keeps the peace, no matter the cost. And yet, if she stays silent, what happens to her marriage? What happens when resentment grows, slowly, silently, because her needs were ignored? This isn't just about this visit. It's about every visit after, every future holiday, every favor, every moment where her no won't be taken seriously because she gave in this time. It's a quiet battle for the right to her own life, her own home, her own mind. So the real question for anyone listening is this: what would you do? For this listener, that's the choice no one prepared her for, and the one she's left to face alone. But there's another layer to this story, a layer many people outside certain cultures might miss. This listener and her husband come from a South Asian background, and in these families, tradition doesn't knock politely at the door. It walks right in, uninvited, and stays as long as it likes. In many South Asian households, especially after a father passes away, the expectation is simple and clear. The son, especially the married one, takes care of the mother. without question, without boundaries. It's not about asking, is this convenient or do you have space? It's about duty, honor, doing the right thing for the family. And often it falls on the wife, the new daughter-in-law, to make it happen, to open her home, to open her heart, to become the new caretaker without ever being asked if she wants to. For this listener, that expectation is heavy, silent, invisible to outsiders, but deeply present in every phone call, every family visit, every quiet glance. It's why her husband and his sister won't consider an Airbnb. It's why no one else seems to care that the apartment is too small, or that she works from home, or that this could damage her marriage. Because culture says, family comes first, always. But here's the question that no one dares to ask. What about the new family she's trying to build, with her husband? What about the marriage they promised to protect? When tradition demands that the mother-in-law be cared for, where does that leave the wife who also needs care, space, and peace? And let's not forget, the mother-in-law herself may not even see this as a burden. In her mind, this is natural, normal, expected. She's grieving, she's scared, she wants her son nearby. But to the listener, this expectation is like a shadow stretching over her life, a quiet message that her own comfort doesn't matter as much as tradition. And this isn't rare. Many women listening right now, especially those from tight-knit cultures, know this feeling. The unspoken rule that your life comes second to the family's needs. So what happens when old ways and new lives collide? When a modern marriage, a private, personal partnership, meets the weight of generations that say, this is just how it is. For this listener, this moment isn't small. It's not just 2 months. It's the beginning of every future compromise, every quiet sacrifice, every time she'll be expected to give in, because family matters more. She's not just fighting for space in an apartment, she's fighting for space in her own life. And here's what makes this so heartbreaking. No one around her seems to see that. Not her husband, not her sister-in-law, not even her mother-in-law. She's standing alone at the intersection of love and duty, wondering which road leads to peace. And so here we are, at the end of this story. But maybe the real story is just beginning for this listener. Because here's the truth. No one in her life is saying out loud, it's okay to choose yourself. It's okay to say no without shame. It's okay to want space in your own home. It's okay to protect your peace, even when culture, family, and guilt try to steal it away. And let's be clear, this listener is not cruel. She's not selfish. She's not a bad wife or a bad daughter-in-law. She's human. She's a woman trying to build a marriage that lasts, and she knows something wise that many people forget. If you don't protect your peace now, you'll lose it forever. Because 2 months becomes 6, 6 months becomes a year, and soon you don't recognize your home or your life. This isn't about disrespecting her mother-in-law. It's not about rejecting family. It's about balance, fairness, boundaries. It's about remembering that marriage is not just about 2 families. It's about 2 people. And those 2 people matter. Their needs matter. Their happiness matters. And her husband? He needs to understand that too. His peace cannot come at the cost of hers. His family's comfort cannot outweigh her sanity. So what happens next? That's up to them. Up to the quiet, honest conversations that they need to have. Conversations where she can say, I need this space. I need this time. Not because I don't love your family, but because I love us. And you, listening right now, maybe you see yourself in this story. Maybe you've had to bite your tongue. Give in. Let boundaries slide because that's what good daughters do, or that's what good wives do. But today, I want you to hear this. You are allowed to protect your space. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to matter. You don't have to feel guilty for asking for peace. You don't have to feel bad for wanting room to breathe. And if you needed someone to remind you of that, here it is, from me, from this podcast, from this moment. You matter. Your peace matters. And now, It's your turn. If you've ever had to set a hard boundary with family, with friends, even with your partner, leave a comment below and tell me, what was the hardest no you ever had to say? Or just drop a heart if you've ever felt this way too. No long stories, no hard thinking, just a little sign that you're out there and you get it. Because this space, this podcast, it's for you. For anyone who's ever felt small in their own home. You are not alone, not today.